Cathy Petrolo is an advocate deeply committed to social justice, particularly in relation to Indigenous rights in Canada. Her journey is marked by a profound personal connection to Indigenous communities, stemming from her relationship with her common law partner, whose struggles with recognition of his Aboriginal status exposed her to systemic challenges facing Indigenous peoples. This personal experience catalyzed Petrolo's dedication to advocating for community-driven change and challenging institutional inequities. In this interview, Petrolo shares insights into her journey, the systemic barriers she has confronted, and her approach to advocacy and social impact. How did your early experiences in the legal and justice system influence your current approach to advocacy and social impact? My early experiences in the legal and justice system gave me a first-hand look at both its strengths and its deep flaws. Those moments shaped my understanding of fairness and sparked a passion for advocacy. They made me more aware of systemic issues and influenced the way I approach social impact, with empathy, urgency, and a commitment to driving meaningful change. What turning point inspired you to move from working within institutional frameworks to actively challenging them on behalf of underserved communities? I reached a turning point when I saw how the system continually failed Indigenous communities, but more so my common law partner. I realized working within it wasn't enough. I had to challenge it directly and advocate for real, community-driven change. In what ways have your professional experiences shaped how you navigate bureaucracy when supporting individuals through complex systems? My professional experiences taught me how to navigate bureaucracy with strategy and persistence. I've learned how to cut through red tape, ask the right questions, and advocate effectively, especially when supporting individuals facing complex, often overwhelming systems. It's about knowing the system well enough to work it for people, not against them. What insights have you gained from confronting systemic barriers that inform your approach to community-based change today? Facing systemic barriers alongside Aboriginal communities showed me that lasting change must be community-driven. It's not about imposing solutions, but about creating space for Indigenous voices to lead. That insight now shapes everything I do. I prioritize trust, respect, and collaboration to support change that reflects the needs and strengths of the community itself. If you had the opportunity to reform one aspect of policy or governance to improve access and equity, where would you begin? If I had the opportunity to reform one aspect of policy or governance to improve access and equity, I would focus on integrating cultural safety and accountability across all service systems, particularly in health, justice, and education. Too often, policies are crafted without truly centering Indigenous voices, leading to systemic disconnect and harm. I would advocate for co-designed frameworks that prioritize Indigenous leadership, representation, and decision-making, ensuring that equity is not only included but embedded at every level. This is where meaningful, lasting change begins. How has your partner's long fight for recognition affected your understanding of identity, belonging, and justice? My partner's long fight for status recognition has profoundly shaped my understanding of identity, belonging, and justice. It's shown me how deeply connected these issues are to one's sense of self and community. The struggle for recognition isn't just about legal status, it's about reclaiming dignity, history, and a rightful place within society. It's reminded me that justice is not simply a matter of policy, but of acknowledging the humanity and worth of every individual, especially those whose identities have been marginalized. What strategies or principles continue to guide your work as you build bridges between communities and institutions? The strategies that guide my work in bridging communities and institutions are centered on collaboration, respect, and transparency. I focus on amplifying the voices of marginalized communities and ensuring their needs shape the decisions made. Building trust through open dialogue is key, as is holding institutions accountable to the people they serve. My goal is to create lasting partnerships that empower communities to drive their own change. How do you reflect on your journey from operating within structured systems to becoming a vocal advocate for those often left out of them? Looking back on my journey, I see a shift from working within structured systems to becoming a vocal advocate for those often overlooked by them. At first, I focused on navigating the system, believing that change could happen from within. But over time, I realized that real impact comes from challenging those systems and amplifying the voices of the marginalized. This journey has been one of transformation, moving from compliance to advocacy, and from working within the system to standing up against it for those who are too often left out. Petrolo's journey through advocacy highlights a powerful transformation from navigating existing systems to challenging them, driven by a personal commitment to justice and equity. Her experiences and insights continue to guide her as she builds bridges between communities and institutions, advocating for policies that embody cultural safety and accountability. Continuing our conversation with Petrolo, we delve deeper into her expertise, notable achievements, and her vision for the future. With a keen focus on advocacy, she shares her experiences and insights on driving impactful change through cultural understanding and persistent efforts. What do you consider your most significant achievement in advocating for Indigenous rights and systemic change? One of my most significant achievements has been assisting my partner in obtaining his Aboriginal status after years of systemic hurdles. This journey taught me resilience and the importance of challenging unjust systems. Helping him reclaim his identity and rightful place in his community was more than just a personal victory. It demonstrated the power of persistent advocacy in the face of institutional resistance. As you continue to work in advocacy, what specific areas are you focusing on to drive change? Currently, my focus is on education and policy reform. I believe that integrating Indigenous perspectives into educational curricula is crucial for fostering understanding and respect. I am also advocating for policies that ensure Indigenous representation and decision-making in governance. These steps are essential for building equitable structures and empowering communities. How do you see your role evolving in the coming years, and what are your aspirations for future projects? In the coming years, I envision my role expanding into broader advocacy and policy reform initiatives. I aim to collaborate with Indigenous leaders to co-create frameworks that empower communities, focusing on sustainable development and cultural preservation. My aspiration is to contribute to building systems that are not only inclusive but actively driven by the communities they serve. What impact do you hope to have on the next generation of advocates and social justice leaders? I hope to inspire the next generation of advocates by demonstrating the power of compassion and persistence in effecting change. I want to emphasize the importance of listening and learning from those directly affected by injustice. My goal is to encourage them to challenge existing structures courageously and to remain steadfast in their pursuit of equity and justice. How do you balance the emotional demands of advocacy with the need to maintain personal well-being? Balancing the emotional demands of advocacy with personal well-being requires conscious effort. I prioritize self-care and surround myself with supportive networks that understand the challenges of this work. Taking time to reflect and recharge is essential, as it enables me to continue advocating effectively without feeling overwhelmed. What message do you want to convey to policymakers about incorporating Indigenous rights into their frameworks? I want policymakers to understand that incorporating Indigenous rights into their frameworks is not just an add-on, it's a necessity for true equality. This involves acknowledging historical injustices and committing to genuine partnerships with Indigenous communities. Policymakers must prioritize Indigenous voices and experiences to create policies that are fair, just, and empowering. What keeps you motivated in the face of systemic challenges and resistance? What keeps me motivated is witnessing the resilience and strength of Indigenous communities. Their courage and determination to preserve their cultures and rights inspire me to keep pushing for change. Each small victory fuels my resolve to confront systemic challenges and continue advocating for justice. As Cathy Petrolo continues her journey in advocacy, her unwavering dedication to justice and her strategic approach to systemic reform remain evident. Her efforts to empower Indigenous communities and champion equitable policies reflect a commitment to creating lasting impact. Through her work, Petrolo hopes to inspire a new generation of advocates to approach change with empathy, courage, and persistence.